Yo, what's good, boys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys, and today's video is one that I make with a heavy heart. I don't want to be making this video. I want it to be all sunshine and rainbows, but it's time to talk about the gameplay because I genuinely think it's awful. I think it's worse than last year's gameplay, which is hard to fathom because I did not enjoy last year's game at all. But I think this year might actually be worse somehow. So I'm going to go into that. And I've got some clips to prove my points. I've listed off everything I kind of have a big issue with, as well as some issues with the mode of Diamond Dynasty itself I've seen popping up. We'll go over some community feedback as well. I know how a lot of people in my stream and stuff feel, but big players are making their opinions known on Twitter about the game right now, and just kind of how they feel about it. Me personally, I've played, I think my first MLB The Show had Miguel Cabrera on the cover, so I want to say that was like MLB 13. It was either that one or the one with Puig on the cover, whichever one came first. And then I got into Diamond Dynasty and the more competitive side of the game in like MLB 16, 17. So I've got almost a decade of playing this game. So I like to think I know what I'm talking about. I'm like a top 1% player. I like to think I have a firm grasp on the concepts of baseball and how the game should operate. And I've seen the game at its best, MLB 23, and I have seen the game at its lowest, which I think these last 2 years are especially low. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you enjoyed the content, like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm not doing this for clout. I don't like making these type of videos because there's like two parties that latch onto them. There's like the super positive, SDS can do no wrong, don't want to hear anything negative about the game crowd. And then there's the crowd where they latch onto videos like this and just blow their issues like super out of proportion that I would say are not community issues. So I'm pretty moderate in my approach on stuff like this. I don't like to just take hard stances on stuff. But when you love a product and you see it go in a bad direction, I think it's important to speak up and just kind of go over some of the stuff. So I have clips here. We'll get into them. Maybe I'll like roll some of the relevant ones while I'm playing. And we'll start with their gameplay. First one's PCI shrinkage. You guys may know already that they did patch this, at least on GOAT. But I think it's still kind of an issue on Legend as well. So you can see I'm not swinging at that outside cutter. I know it's what this guy is going to throw to me. You can see the score is 0-6. Whatever, you'll just have to believe me. But this guy sat here and meta pitched the whole game. He spammed away sliders, away circle changes, away sinkers, just everything that would shrink a PCI for the entire game. So by the fifth inning, I was, locked in. I knew what he wanted to throw me. So I'm trying to avoid swinging at outside breaking stuff because I know it's going to shrink my PCI. And then we end up with something like that. So that is 68 miles an hour, 134 degrees, and we'll show the timing and whatnot. Good timing. So if my PCI doesn't shrink, it's a home run. But since the PCI shrinks, not a home run. Like I said, they've kind of addressed it a little bit. It's still somewhat prevalent, especially in like circle changes. It makes guys like Hoffman, Valenzuela a lot better than they probably should be. Or Fernando. I'm not going to say his last name because I just cannot wrap my head around 2 L's in the name. So forgive me for that. But it makes them a lot better than they should be, especially when Fernando's already really good because screwballs have weird, messed up timings where you just got to swing at it a lot to kind of understand the timing of it. What you see on screen doesn't really match up. That's a very minor issue, not one of my main complaints. But the PCI shrinking and circle changes and everything else, just shrinking your PCI to the size of a pea routinely is not fun. Nobody's having fun with it. I promise you that. So that's one of my main issues. Second main issue, foul balls. It was people's biggest complaint last year, and I feel like it's just as bad this year. And I hear nobody talking about it. I will sit up here, and if I make a bad swing, it's a weak grounder in play, which I have no issues with. But then I sit up here, and my opponent, it's just foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball. You throw them the four seam they're looking for, home run, bang. Next at bat, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball. Get the pitch they're looking for, single, double, like. And it's just that on repeat. Like, it's even on higher difficulties. You can play like that on Legend. You can't really play like that on GOAT just because it's so impossible to hit in general on GOAT. But the fact that you can take that approach into Legend is embarrassing, because that's like a BR approach. That's like what BR players who get like 5 times flawless in BR and then suck when they get to like Legend ranked. That's that hitting approach. It should not work in high tier ranked. And it does. Now, I'm not saying that it needs to be not possible to have like a Brandon Belt at bat where it's like 14, 18 pitches. But it should not be as easy to replicate as it is. Because honestly, if I went on an All-Star, I mean, I already strike out never on an All-Star. But if I went on a Hall of Fame and just contact swung, I don't think I would ever strike out. And that's contact swinging. So normal swinging you would think would be a lot worse. It's really not. Like, you get just as many foul balls. So I think foul balls need to be tuned a little bit. I think they're just way too prevalent. There's just too many second chances, third chances, fourth chances handed out, especially on higher difficulties. It makes pitching feel not rewarding because you're sitting here throwing your out pitch 3 times in a row and they're fouling it off. And then you're just forced to eventually throw them what they're looking for. And it's not a fun gameplay loop. Next issue, pinpoint. Dude, pinpoint sucks again. It's been this way since like MLB 22, I want to say, where it's just not rewarding at all, really. You sit here and you throw nothing but perfects and you watch your perfects miss just outside of the zone. You'll purposefully put the par to where like maybe 3% of it is outside the zone, and you throw a perfect and it misses out the zone for a ball. Happens all the time. And guess what? If you mess your pinpoint up at all, your pitcher's gonna throw it right down the middle. So it's the actual most frustrating thing in the world. And it adds to the RNG, because you will just load into games where your opponent's pitching like Shohei Ohtani or Corbin Burns or somebody, and they are just tucking perfect high and end sinkers perfectly in the corner every single pitch. And you know the par is that big on that pitch. But because the game deems it so, they're able to just throw it routinely for strikes. And it's just the most maddening thing ever, because it does not go both ways. So... Next issue, servers. Is anybody surprised? I've been on this train for years where like the servers suck. Every game feels drastically different from every other game you play. And this year it's just to the extreme. Like, it's absolutely awful. I've played all-star games that feel like Legend. There's a Lil Man clip that maybe I'll pull up at the end of this where he sees a middle away cutter that's 87 miles an hour. And it comes in like it's all-star difficulty, like it's veteran difficulty, and he falls out of his shoes swinging. And then the very next pitch is a high and away cutter, and it looks like it's 97, and it's just blistering, and he's too late to hit it. And that's just all servers and desync and lag, and it just adds to not a good experience in online play. And it's just absolutely terrible. Next issue, bloops. Dude, I feel like I'm back in like MLB 17, 18, 19. We have not seen bloops like this in forever. Like, I feel like the last few years, say what you will about the product, I think they've been okay. They did not have bloops like this. Bloops were basically eradicated. I don't know what they have done to the game. Like, the only time I saw bloops last year was pitching that Chase Pack John Donaldson. And it was because he had like 75 hits or whatever, and you used them for longer than you probably should. And so you throw inside sliders, and since they were 97, people would be late and jam them into right field. That's the only time all year I saw bloopers on a routine basis. I see one an inning, multiple an inning this year. There are certain games that are just decided based on who can capitalize more off their bloops. Oh, you got 3 bloops and got bases loaded, but didn't hit any of them in, you lose. Your opponent got 2 bloops and hit his 3-run home run, you lose. Like, it's crazy that games are actually decided that way this year in a competitive video game that people play, like they play for real money in. Like Kreiner is on Twitter pulling his hair out on a daily basis because of the gameplay this year. And it's not a fun spot to be. And if you say bloop should be part of the game, there's like a crowd of people that actually believe that. And then there's a crowd of people that are vehemently against it. I'm kind of in the middle, but right now the frequency is just way too high. I think the best solution is, and you know what, well, yeah, I'll toss out a solution. The best solution is to go the Madden route. Have an arcade mode, have a comp mode, have a simulation mode. So the people in franchise, they want to get blooped to death by the CPU, have at it. That's you. But in DD, they need to rarely happen because that is a bad input being rewarded well. And some people will say, well, they do have that. No, they don't. Depending on if you pick competitive or simulation or whatever, that's just what settings the game puts you on. That's not actually how the game plays. So I think like having competitive mode where like perfects have like higher exit velos, or like launch angles are toned down, or something like that, I think would benefit the game a tremendous amount. Next one, launch angles. So this is something I have clips for. Let's see. What's a launch angle clip? This is a launch angle clip. So I'll probably go through and show some of the others. I would like to have like just a slideshow of them looping. I don't know how possible that is. Doesn't seem like it is. We'll toggle that. All right, so look at this swing. This is a fun one. That is earlier side of good timing, which is traditionally where you would like to be in MLB The Show. You either want to be perfect or earlier side of good. And we pulled the ball, so you can't even say that, oh, well, you hit it the other way and we're earlier side of good, so that's why you didn't hit. We pulled the ball, and we're right under it with Scott Rowland, who has 113, 119. 119 is pretty much as high as you're going to get in power right now, with good vision. And we are just under the ball, and that is a 41-degree launch angle. Launch angle is just a complete coin flip. Go watch top players play each other on GOAT. There will just be times where they're like, oh, that was a good swing. I just got like really good launch angle. Like their opponent will hit one halfway into the outfield with like a 48-degree launch angle, and they know it was a good swing. It's so random how launch angle is determined. It's really pathetic. All right, so I guess there's no way to get that to go. Which brings me to the next one. GOAT difficulty. Dude, GOAT difficulty is the worst thing ever because it's just more bloops. It's just a lot of strikeouts, bloops, and a couple good swings from each player to where every game ends 3-1. 4-3 is probably the highest GOAT game you're gonna see. Either 4-3 or like 8-0, and somebody's just on a better server and they just clap your cheeks. And that's just how it is, dude. Like, it's the worst experience of any game. I've seen some people have the opinion they made it because casuals were sick of seeing games in like 30-20 on Legend. But from my understanding, it was for the competitive players. Comp players said the game was too easy on Legend. So their solution was to add GOAT, and it's terrible, and even the comp players hate playing on it. So if they hate playing on it, and the mode was created for them, get rid of it. There's no place for it. And the place for it is definitely not 1,000 rated. I will tell you that right now. It should be like 1,200, 1,300, 1,500 even, something like that. the fact that legend is a 100 point skill discrepancy from 900 to 999 rated is laughable. Because you sit here, you play from what, 200 to like 700 on All Star, and then 700 to like 800 on Hall of Fame now, or 700 to 900 on Hall of Fame. And then you play on Legend for 100 points. Like, it might as well not even exist at that point. It's like the rarest difficulty to play on, because if you're really good, you're going to be on GOAT. If you're not, you're going to be on Hall of Fame or All Star. And there's just no real place left for Legend, which is such a weird place for what was the top end difficulty for so many years. So that just like boggles my mind. Next one, co-ops freezing. I haven't experienced this a ton. Like, I saw it a little bit at the start of the year. Whatever. I do like co-op with viewers on a semi-regular basis when it's not completely broken and people can just forfeit your game for you, which is a whole nother thing. But I played with viewers. I think we played 3 games. 2 of them froze. The first one, I was like, I'll just quit, whatever, lose some rating, get more people in here. Second one froze. Like, it's genuinely embarrassing that co-op is still like that. There's just too much going on with crossplay servers and just all peer-to-peer connections, and who knows, some years there's ways where people know how to freeze the game and weird stuff like that. Like, it's insane that that's still an issue. Sinker's Par, I believe I've talked about, where your opponent is just RNG. They can just sit here and tuck high and end sinkers on you the whole game. But if you try it, it's always a ball. It's just part of Pinpoint. I think I wouldn't hate if sinkers just went back to the way they were with like Prime Edward Cabrera. That was more a product of how Pinpoint was at the time than like how pars and sinkers in particular worked. Because if you remember Pinpoint back then, you could literally, you just put the ball where you wanted to. And if you threw the pinpoint accurate, it was going to go exactly where you wanted to every time. Now, with the introduction of pars, it feels outdated and archaic for your sinker par to go from that big if it's in the bottom corner to that big if it's in the top corner. It's ridiculous, and it opens the door to so much RNG for a pitch that, let's face it, it's like a top 3 pitch in the game every single year. If your pitcher has it, you're throwing it probably 50-60% of the time with them. Like, it's insane that you're handicapped, but at the same time, it just introduces another RNG element into the game, of which I think there's too many already, and we'll kind of get into that as well. Which is my last point for gameplay anyway, is the RNG is just completely rampant. Like, it's crazy. I think they need to overhaul the hitting engine. I think there's just too many variables going on in the game. You have PCI shrinking on sliders, sinkers, and circle changes, which is just insane. You have hitter tendencies like balanced pull, extreme pull, opposite, stuff like that. You have pitcher's clutch, you have batter's clutch, you have batter's contact, you have pitcher's hits. You've got pitch breaks, you've got break outlier, you've got outlier, you've got every single batter quirk popping every single swing for them. I don't even know what else to get into. I feel like I'm missing other stuff as well. You kind of have like these imaginary multipliers. I can't tell you how many times this year I've tried to throw like a down and away circle change, down and away splitter, and it misses 1 millimeter over that line to where it counts as being down the middle, and it just gets obliterated. But if it was any more to the right, it would just be a weak fly out. It's insane just how many variables are spinning around. And I think that's why the hitting engine feels like it's genuinely a coin flip. Every good swing you have is a coin flip. Every bad swing you have is a coin flip. And it just leads to like the most RNG based gameplay I think I've ever seen. So it's downright pathetic, to be honest. I guess we can go through some of these clips. Have no idea what this one's gonna be with Aaron Judge. I assume it'll, oh yeah, this will be a like contact focused one, like foul ball one. How's that not a foul ball? It's a swing and a miss. You might not be able to tell because it's a 1-2 count. Just take my word for it. Or you know what, we can rewind. You don't have to take my word. I've got evidence. Swing and a complete miss on a good swing. And you know, you can probably twist, you know, your perspective enough to justify that somehow being a swing and a miss. I have seen swings where the ball is within the PCI and you have good timing like that and it still misses. So this is probably a bad example of that. It should probably still be a foul ball. But I've seen ones where the ball is actually in the PCI and you still miss it. And it's usually on sliders, circle change, stuff that influences your PCI size. And just something just is not clicking there. You can say it's maybe because Aaron Judge has low vision, but I'm gonna throw a dart at your bubble right here. If I'm very early there, if I'm very late there, that is a guaranteed foul ball. I promise you that. That is a guaranteed foul ball. So it's crazy that like you've got stuff like that going around. This I have in here, it's not the best example in the world. But I will tell you, in previous years, if this was 108 off the bat, you would not have been surprised. This could have very easily in previous years just been a scorcher that like got straight through the infield. And now it's 56 degrees with negative 157 degree launch angle. It's not the best example, but it's, you know, it just shows you how different the hitting engine is this year, and not necessarily in a good way. We've got this swing, which is a hung circle change, a pitch that gets historically blasted. And this is by no means a terrible swing. It's not great. It's perfect timing with a little down and inside of the ball there. But I'll be honest with you, I've seen this exact same swing with Anthony Santander, and maybe it's because he's a power hitter, but then you would think that he would get more launch angle than Brian Reynolds, right? But since when does the game make sense? You can make the same swing with Anthony Santander and be just early or even early, and it would be a guaranteed home run. And I won this game. You can't see it, but it's 5-4. This was a very stressful, tight game where I think I had to walk this guy off. Or it went to extras and I scored or something like that. But I won the game. So it's not here because I'm salty that I lost the game or anything. It's just here because it's a crazy example of a ball that just wasn't hit nearly as hard as it would have been in previous years. Ted Simmons here. This is just a crazy result. Like, a lot of people will tell you that this is basically the best swing you can put on the ball is being right under it. It's giving me a 41 degree launch angle. And maybe it's because I'm just early, but like I said, in previous years, that's where you would want to be. You can see where the center fielder's lining up. This is not even going to make it halfway into the outfield, which is crazy. Again, probably not the greatest example, but trust me, I don't clip all of these. Like, if I clipped all of them, I think I would be out of storage. I would love to talk about this real quick. I've been talking about this for years. Other than me, Adam Samuels posted the clip earlier in the year about this, and he's the only other person I've ever seen talk about it. The cuts have been lining up in egregiously stupid spots for years now, and I'm so sick of it. Because if you're a ball knower, assuming this runner's about to round third, right? Like, we can get here. Let's say the runner's like right here. The cut man should be lining up either like halfway between first and second, or right over first, or right in front of first. And so many times this year, they're basically at second base. And this runner's going home, and you have to throw it an extra, you know, whatever that is, from second to home plate instead of just from first to home. So the cut has been lining up in stupid spots for years. This is an extreme example of that, because it's probably co-op and clearly some errors were made. But I don't know why he's lining up actually 15 feet away from the other guy. Let's see, we got anything else? This, just a dumb gameplay animation. tell me why this is in the game. This is against the CPU, so grain of salt. But Kreiner did post a clip earlier in the year of this exact same animation happening in an online game. So I would ask you with a straight face to tell me if this was 9th inning and it was a tied game and your opponent hit this, if you would be happy with you making a green throw home from a fielder with really good arm accuracy and your catcher doing this and just losing the ball on the tag. Why is that an animation in online gameplay? If you want that to be in franchise or whatever for realism's sake, cool. Knock yourself out. I do not want to see that in online gameplay. This game against a cheater, it's just going to be another example of just certain, like, you can see this last swing, actually. This exact same last swing. 101 off the bat, -3 degrees. I would say that's a pretty normal result. For Mike Trout to have 120 power, and to be on top of that, yeah, with that type of swing timing, that's a pretty normal result. This is not. This is 105 power, earlier side of good timing on a hung 12-6. And if this guy wasn't a cheater, which he was, if he was not a cheater, this would probably be an out because he would probably have somebody in left field other than Manny Ramirez, and he would probably go catch this. So in my mind, that's a 3-run home run all day. It's a hung curveball. We're really good on it. I think I proceeded to score like 6 or 7 runs that inning. So like I was seeing the ball really good, and just here's a good example of just PCI shrinkage / launch angle. Is what it is. I don't want this video to be 18 million years long and be old man yells at clouds, but that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Right under the ball. Perfect timing. 120 power. You just saw Mike Trout in the last clip with less contact hit one 103 that had a worse PCI. But since that's in the way slider, it just won't get hit hard. And we have another example of this with Scott Rowland. Brand new card worth, like 1.5 mil when I got him because there wasn't as many cards out. Logan Webb just going to throw a backdoor slurve. I mean, my PCI is 1 millimeter off that being a perfect. That's perfect timing, 93 power. And I believe this is actually an out. And that is Shieldwoods, by the way. The Trout clip was Laughing Mountain, which is like 25, 2800, whatever the max elevation is. Shieldwoods is also that elevation. And so that's just another out on a pitch like that. Beltron, just, again, you'll see just the best card in the game, not being able to hit the ball on an extremely good swing. Not to toot my own horn, but that is a hung changeup. Now, I don't mind this maybe not being a home run. Sure, if you want to say it shouldn't be a home run, cool. It should be like 102 mile an hour, like 18 degree, like liner that gets by Ricky for a double. But instead, it's a routine flyout, which is just crazy. And you just see a million examples of this like all the time this year. I don't want to harp on it a ridiculous amount, but it's exhausting at a point. All right, so let's talk about DD, the actual mode of Diamond Dynasty. Nothing to do with gameplay or anything like that. First issue is servers. How many times this year have you guys been going through your lineup and just changing a player or two, and you just get stuck in like an infinite loading screen and have to dashboard and restart your game? I would bet it's a pretty good amount. So I think servers are an issue gameplay wise. They're also an issue with the mode of Diamond Dynasty and the menus in general. Let's go on to our next one here. All right, so we have the events. Why are you playing events, you might ask? The only thing I can think of is for multiplayer missions, which I don't think they actually did any. Give up home runs in events. That was literally it this season. All this mode is now is people farming their multiplayer programs, which there's nothing wrong with it. Knock yourself out. But it's just a pointless mode. There's no point in doing events. Events was like honestly my most played mode probably the last 2 years because it was the best effort to stub mode in the game other than like BR. And so now it's just completely pointless. Like I'm not sitting here winning 10 games to get a Ronald Acuna that's like 15K now. It's just not happening. So I think it sucks that they made that mode absolutely pointless. Speaking of mostly pointless modes, let's jump over to its brother mode, Battle Royale. This mode is useless in a different way. If you are not somebody that possesses the skill necessary to go 10-0, there is no reason for you to ever touch this mode. In the past, when like the BR program was grindable for a free non-sale or even a sellable version, I could care less. Either of those is better than what the mode is right now. It's just a sweat fest. It's only people that are like straight up bots, which you're not going to match with after the first game or two. Or it's just people sweating their brains out trying to win their Otani run. And just like, if you cannot go 10-0, there's no reason for you to ever touch BR. Again, if it's in the multiplayer program, there's a little bit of a reason to. But other than that, there is no reason for you to ever be in BR if you can't go 10-0. So I told you guys that I am a moderate. I like to see both sides a good amount. And there was a growing pay-to-win crowd, especially when like the Santana came out. When Posada came out, a bunch of people were like, oh, it's pay to win the game. MLB The Show is a game that will inherently never be pay to win. The most pay to win the game has been this year, I would argue, is actually when the first weekend classic rolled around and you could have a Roger, Randy Johnson, and John Donaldson. That's probably the most pay to win it's been. Just because being able to put those pitchers out there actually does give you like a higher chance. It doesn't matter if your opponent has Willie Castro. How many times is this Willie Castro gonna go 4 for 4 or home runs? Not often. You can do just as good with Carlos Correa at shortstop as you can with this Willie Castro card. So I don't think that's ever really pay to win. More so pitchers. I think pitchers are a lot more pay to win. Because if I'm pitching Roger Clemens, I think I have like a 60-70% chance to win that game if my opponent isn't also pitching somebody like that. And I'd assign more or less the same ratio to like John and Randy. And Dustin May's close, so that kind of gives the free people more to fight back with. And now John is free now, so that pay to win gap has decreased. But I get where people are coming from. I get it. Because we're getting like 92 overall lightning cards that suck. And then we're getting this card, which is supposedly a 93 overall card. But honestly, how does this card compare with the, what's his name? The shortstop from the Marlins last year that got the finest, or maybe it wasn't him that got finest, but let's imagine it was Xavier Edwards. I think that's his name. Let's imagine a Xavier Edwards finest card for a moment and just close your eyes. You probably thought of something that looked a lot like this. You would probably think he would have more than 0 stealing, and you would probably assume he would at least have gold defense, if not diamond. But other than that, this card is legitimately a finest card at a 93 overall. Now, there's other stuff that holds him back. He doesn't have the craziest quirks in the world, but he is still a fast switch hitter. With a really good swing. A bunch of people enjoyed the gold one last year. This is just him on crack. And I'm all for some good Tigers cards. Don't get me wrong. But it is absolutely insane that we have like this 300K shortstop, this 500K catcher, this 220K catcher, and just a ton of other really expensive cards that are just honestly miles ahead of everybody else at their position. When Jorge dropped, I was like, dude, everybody needs him. Like, everybody's been running Ted Simmons. Jorge Posada can legitimately be your catcher for the next 2 months, is what I told people. And then they come out with a better catcher like a week later. So I get it. I get the pay to win perspective. I don't ever believe the game will be truly pay to win because it's still, hitter wise, you still have to perform with those cards. Just because somebody has Carlos Beltran does not mean they're going to make 4 bad swings and get 4 home runs from it. So I think it's a skill is always way more important than what cards you actually have. But I do get it. I understand where people are coming from. I do think it is a slippery slope and they need to tone it down quite a bit. The other side of that is like with chase cards, people are never going to be happy because there's always a crowd of people where, if you remember, like MLB, I think it was 23, 24, one of those years, it was like, dude, what are these chase cards? Like when we got that cycle Lindor, people were like, they're supposed to be chase cards. They're supposed to be some of the best in the game. They're supposed to make you want to pull packs. And then we get really good ones and people are calling it pay to win. So there's really no winning for SDS here. But I think there needs to be more of a middle ground. Every chase card that comes out cannot be the new best card at their position. Because it's just going to be a revolving door of like almost basically like Madden, where it's just like, oh, time to replace the guy I bought last week for half his price. So I think they have to kind of find a better way of going about that. And my last point I was going to mention is just power scaling of cards being off, because you have Willie Castro with like zero stealing, and what's his other bad stats? Like discipline is trash. Discipline does nothing. Durability does nothing. A good example of kind of how they scale this back is if we come to the XP path here. We can pull up this Trevor Story, 99 durability. If he had 0 durability and 70 stealing, you could probably easily give him 5 points on his contact right, 5 points on his power right, and he would be in the serious conversation for best shortstop in the game, even with that Willie Castro. Now, Willie Castro being a switch hitter with max contact, it's probably always going to be him. But Trevor Story always has a super nice swing, usually has some good quirks. Unfortunately, he sucks in real life now, so that detracts from him. But it just sucks the way they're kind of scaling cards right now. It's like they know how to make good ones and they know how to hold cards back. And that is its own issue. And again, I think there's a middle ground to it. Not every card that comes out has to be min-maxed. I think a lot of people are mad that these cards that come out don't have 0 durability and 0 stealing. That just kills power scaling in and of itself. Then it's like, what even is power scaling? If you can make like, we had it in the past, right? Think of the headliner Ketel Marte from like 2-3 years ago. That's the best example of power scaling ever. That card had trash clutch when clutch didn't matter, trash discipline when discipline didn't matter. And he was like a slow center fielder, but at second base, he would have easily been a 99 overall. If that card was a second baseman, which he had a secondary in, instead of a center fielder, he would have been a 99 just because of how attributes are weighted differently at different positions. So just kind of a perspective on scaling. And we're going to, get some tweets pulled up and we'll wrap up the video because it's already longer than what I was hoping for it to be. So shout out to Nutsy, he gets it. This is pretty much where I'm at. I can still love the game and be critical of it and see the flaws with it. And that's just kind of the point of this. New matchmaking in Weekend Classic, if we want to be positive, I feel like that was pretty much universally positive. And he went really hard on the power scaling with these cards. But I want to see Kyle. If I could spell right now, kind of down bad at this ungodly hour. Let's see. So I didn't even have to scroll very far. This is how far I had to make it. He made a whole video on it, so I'm sure a lot of you guys that watch this will have already seen it. He hates Go difficulty. It's terrible. It made him take a day off. I could go find some other stuff. Thune doesn't want Goat to be in the game. I mean, Kyle's just on scorched earth on Twitter about how bad it is. And I've seen a lot of other people holding more or less the same sentiment. See what Griner's talking about. Don't know why I defaulted to the bottom. And you can see Griner literally got copies of the game to give away. He, like, SDS messes with him. I think he's been on their streams. He's still critical of the game. So he went 6-0, called it Mickey Mouse for whatever reason. Yep. Does not want GOAT to be in the game ever again. It's not how it should be. SDS is hosting tourneys on Legend instead of GOAT because GOAT is just not good. 2-1, yeah, it's not good. Apparently GOAT is harder. Apparently Hall of Fame's harder. Apparently, yeah, here's the clip of his catcher missing a tag in a online game. And that just cost him a run with 2 outs. Pretty much who I would consider to be the best player in the world. And he's getting scammed out of guaranteed outs because his catcher, who I'm sure he's running like Posada or Santana or Soderstrom, a legit catcher. It's not like he has an out of position guy. We've got this one, another fun clip here. That's a ball. So you can see that the swing result even like defaults. I guess that's just a desync thing. You can see Griner's on PlayStation, or Griner's on Xbox. This guy's on PlayStation. It's probably just a desync thing. That ball actually ended up like out here or something. He did a fake retirement speech because that's how bad the game is, that people actually believed that he was retiring because of the game. So it's like, it's not fun, dude. It's not fun where we're at right now with the game. So I'm hoping that SDS can take some of this feedback, or, you know, I can galvanize a part of the community. Do your surveys. I will say this. Like, I've trashed on the product quite a bit. They still do a lot of good stuff. And the best thing that SDS does is they do listen. If you log into your companion app, at the end of like every season, there will be a survey. And it does take a while to fill out. But if you really care and you want changes to be brought to the game, you should be filling that survey out, because they do listen. They do implement a lot of the stuff in there. And, you know, I fill it out every single time. So do your part, fill the survey out when it's out. Let me know if I missed anything. I'm sure there's going to be some like franchise stuff, stuff like that, modes that I don't really play. But this has kind of been bubbling up for a little bit, and I just want to get it off my chest. I still enjoy the product, and I owe some loyalty to SDS, because I have, not only did they send me the game and all the codes to give away and stuff this year, but it's just my favorite franchise of all time. I think they do, for the most part, a pretty good job with it. But when you see something going the wrong way, you should speak out about it. And that's the whole point of this video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, or enjoyed might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like, subscribe, all that. Until next time. Peace.